Hey everyone, it's Strange Michael. I hope you're doing well today. I just kind of realized just now how kind of weak this whole review setup for this week has been. I'm going to start getting into the Christmas reviews next week, but for this week's set of reviews, I've kind of had kind of a bland week, or just slightly above average kind of week. This is a great example of a movie that I kind of feel the same way about. This movie came out in 2016. It's about an hour and 60 minutes long. I watched it on Shudder. Really had a solid time for the most part. Even though it's kind of a weak movie, it has flaws. It's called Sweet, Sweet, Lonely Girl. I don't know anybody involved with the film. I don't know anything about Sweet, Sweet, Lonely Girl's cast or crew. There is one standout performance I'll get to, but I really don't have a whole lot to say about the film. It doesn't have a whole lot of plot to it either. It's kind of a mysterious, borderline art house movie. It feels like a movie who doesn't really have a story to tell, but it's well shot, that kind of thing. But it really doesn't have a plot to really delve too much into because of the mystique they try to maintain for this movie to feel like an art house film. And when I say it's well made, I do want to dedicate myself to that pinpoint on the map. It's a well-made movie. I genuinely think that. If you like things like I just recently talked about, I think it's called Matriarch on Hulu. Really beautiful looking movie most of the time. You can say whatever you want about the contents of the film. I know it's kind of not been amazingly well received by most people who have watched it, who've reviewed it, who I've heard talk about it. But for me, that movie was beautiful looking most of the time. It's a well-made flick with flaws. This movie's kind of the same thing, but to a lesser extent. You know, it's not as well made as Matriarch, for example, but it's not fair to compare the two. They're completely different from different people, but Sweet, Sweet, Lonely Girl has its moments. Let me get to the actual story, though. You have a young woman who is living with her family. I can't tell if she's like 17, 20, something like that. I watched this a few days ago, so some of the small details like that are gone. They're not up here anymore. So I apologize for that. Her family ships her off, and for whatever reason, they don't really like her. I don't really understand why they don't like her. There's kind of maybe a hint here or there throughout the film as the film progresses, and you find out a little bit about this character. You really don't know much about her. She's likable, but for some reason, everyone around her absolutely hates her guts. Her family ships her off basically to go take care of a sicker relative, and when she gets to this relative's house, I think it's an aunt, the aunt just kind of stays locked up in her bedroom. She never comes out to talk to this young woman. She just stays in there, kind of talks to her through a door. And there's a little bit of like a religious symbolism throughout this movie. And I believe that woman, in my opinion, is kind of like an analogy for God in a weird, like, whatever the way the director wants to portray God, if that's supposed to be a true-to-life analogy, the way I think it's supposed to be. The film is a little muddled with some of the things like that, some of the things it's trying to attempt, but with that being said, she gets there, she takes care of the aunt, and she runs into, I think it's kind of like a store type of restaurant, small town restaurant. It is in a small town for that matter. There's not really much to do in the area, and when she's there, I think she sees like a longtime friend, or somebody that she knew from like school or something, knew from the neighborhood when she was growing up, something like that when she would come to visit. And girl's beautiful, I'm gonna tell you that. But number two, this girl can act. So let me bring up her name really quick. She deserves props, man. Quinn Shepard, she plays a character named Beth. She is fantastic. She steals the show every time she's on screen. Not because of her looks, but because of her performance and how she is just a strong screen presence. Like, when she's there in this movie, you're going to pay attention because of the way her character is. Beth is a very kind of... Imagine the kids who broke all the rules when you were younger, that never grew out of that, at like 20, 25, 28, somewhere in there. That's what Beth's character is kind of like. And watching her kind of flirt, kind of change the opinions of her main character girl, kind of make her a little bit corrupt, if you will, some kind of extent to that, because she kind of turns her slowly into a bad girl of some type, but not fully. Their friendship is very odd to watch, but I enjoyed it because of the kind of contents we had here in this movie. And again, the way it's shot, it's a beautifully directed film. The kind of shots that are utilized for such a small-scale movie was really surprising to me. There's shots in like a graveyard, for example, at one point with these two characters wandering around out there and dancing and whatever, that just really hit home. There's something about it, the way it looks as a movie, and the house that the aunt lives in, that this young girl's being shipped off to take care of her aunt in. That house is shot beautifully. with the hallways, the door frames, anything like that. I know it's weird to say it that way, like the door frames are beautifully shot, but when you see the film, I think you'll understand what I'm talking about. It's very impressive in that way, even though the film itself is kind of mediocre for the most part. The writing is kind of solid. It's a little muddled, like I said, but it's not trying to be super strong. It feels like it's trying too hard to be an art house film, which is kind of a shame. A lot of people are not going to like that. I think people are not going to like the ending of the film, because I was not happy with the ending of the film. That is kind of a letdown. I liked the build-up, it's just the actual ending, not the third act entirely. Just the ending of this hour and 16-minute long film is kind of a letdown. Let's see. What else have I not covered down here? There's not really any special effects or anything like that. The music is solid when it's there. There's really not much of that from what I remember either. It's fine, you know? Really, when it comes to Sweet Sweet Lonely Girl, I don't have much to say about it. It's kind of a letdown of a week of reviews, like I said. If you're the right audience, if you're an art house fan like myself, you might like this more than I did. But I feel like there's something lacking here. There's something missing here. I can't quite put my finger on it. I was going to say my nose on it, but that's not what I'm supposed to put on it. Anyway, if I had to rate the film on a 5-star basis, I would give Sweet Sweet Lonely Girl a 3 out of 5 stars. Decent movie. Kind of slightly above average, but not really to the extent of something else like I just reviewed with Asylum. I reviewed an anthology film from 1972, Asylum, on Shudder. And that, to me, actually made me want to watch it. This one here, I was kind of just there for the ride, but I was curious more than anything where it was going to go, which is also a bonus. That's a positive, in my opinion. But anyway, 3 out of 5 stars for me. What did you think about Sweet Sweet Lonely Girl? Have you seen this? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What do you think about it? I really think a lot of the folks here, including the main 2 girls who perform here, the director, all of them deserve, with their performances, with their traits, their skills, to go farther in the industry. I think they could do better work later on down the road depending on what scripts they work with. And I hope they went that far. I don't know, I haven't looked at it, but I hope over the last 5 or 6 years that they've had more things to do. Excuse me. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. What do you think about Sweet Sweet Lonely Girl? I'd love to hear what you have to say down in the comments section down below, like I said. And thank you for watching. God bless you. Goodbye.